Howdy, y'all. I'm bored. We're starting early. Let's do it. Okay. Nobody wants to chat. That's fine. I understand. That'll work for me just as well. Gives me plenty of time to cut and light. Today I'm going to be using a Zycar punch on a Romeo and Julieta 1875 Churchill. You know what? I started early. I don't mind starting early. If you're just now coming in, you already missed all the music. You missed the little green header that says, "Howdy, y'all." Nothing wrong with that. Do remember, this is not the show. This is the tailgate, where we conglomerate and hang out, throw ideas out there, and talk amongst ourselves like adults should, if we were allowed to actually be adults. Your opinions are greatly appreciated. If I wanted to hang out with nobody except for myself, I would accept that all the opinions brought forth agree with me 100%. You shouldn't feel you have to agree with me 100%. Similar thought: pipe tobaccos, types of pipes, cigars, food. The list goes on and on and on. Howdy, Martin. Great to see you. Glad I added you to that group message that I send out when I start my show. Hopefully you've been getting those. It's Only you and Phil that get the message, but hey, I figure it's Friday. You might find yourself with time to snag an extra soundbite or 5 or how many ever. Odie, howdy, sir. Great to have both of y'all in. There says 5 in, but no big deal. So for those of y'all who are here early, a very important person, a VIP, has requested that I put together a cigar buying guide for the pipe smokers. So I took about 30 seconds and said, okay, Scott, how do you do, Scott? Great to see you here. So I'm going to let y'all know I put together this list of cigar buying, well, what you would like or what you could like, various different categories, like Connecticut. Hey, what do you think about Connecticut's? Well, if you like a Connecticut, then howdy, Jeff. Great to see you. Enjoy that Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, official beer of the Las Vegas Raiders. Loving it. And consequently, it was one portion of a movie. Well, I believe it was just Coors, not Coors Light, but just Coors that became part of a movie. An undiscussed portion of a movie, Smokey and the Bandit. They couldn't bring that beer any farther towards Atlanta than Texarkana at the time. But, well, hey, there it is. Howdy, Paul. Great to see you there. Or here, as it is. I hear that the foot's getting better, and that's always a good thing. But I really do appreciate y'all having ideas and your own opinions on any subject that we tend to talk about on here. Granted, certain subjects I'm not exactly lenient upon, just because history seems to keep proving me right more and more. Oh, good Lord. Well, tell Sharon that we are thinking about her, and hopefully she gets feeling better soon. I got a bum knee myself, so I do understand having a bad leg. And when I say bum knee, I mean I shattered a kneecap. They did a reconstructive surgery, then they did an ACL and an MCL so that they could attach all the ligaments back to it. And I was promptly told by my excellent doctor that I should go ahead and give up all the extreme sports that I was enjoying previous. Mostly because the knee would never, ever hold up to the amount of abuse that I used to put it through. Well, howdy, Sharon. Hopefully you are feeling better. Just heard from Paul that your leg is not doing as well as it should be. We're gonna hopefully see that improve in leaps and bounds, whether you're leaping and bounding or not. I don't like it when my friends are hurting. Just me. And no, I don't always agree with every person that I call a friend. In fact, there are quite a few of y'all who have completely different political viewpoints than I do. And I'm okay with that. Steve and Miss Kathy, howdy, sir. Great to have y'all here. Oh, well, hopefully hopefully that pain goes away quickly. Paul needs you taking care of him. I mean, Lord knows men are babies when they're hurting. Some men are babies when they're hurting. I would say Steve is not a baby when he's hurting. Chances are, he's kind of like me. He's going to take a lot of killing before it actually comes down to him saying, "Oh, that hurts." Ooh, good Lord. Oh, okay. Sharon, alternate heat and ice, and let's hope that nothing's broken. Scott, there's certain subjects that, and people will say, don't talk politics, don't talk religion. He's just grumpy as hell. That's said from Miss Kathy. Yes, I can understand that. Men are supposed to be grumpy. And it's just the way it is. Paul. And anybody else out there who thinks I just called them babies. Women always will say that men are completely babies when we're feeling sick or hurt. I will tell you all that if you're passing a kidney stone, you're hurting. You're hurting a lot. And you're hoping that the thing clawing its way out of your back will quit. And the first time this happens, you will probably puke, vomit, whatever you'd like to call it. And you will be in so much pain that just sitting still is difficult. Paul, I ever show up to London, I'm telling you right now, we're going to have to just get everybody in London that's a pipe smoker and a couple of people from Finland. We know who we're talking about. And maybe a few Germans or Frenchmen or whatever. Anybody who can show up. Mostly because if I get my ass all the way from Houston to London, I'm hoping some of y'all can meet me part way. One, most importantly, I can't afford to just fly out there on a regular basis, though I wish I could. Jose, oh my God, hello, sir. How's the appendix? Hopefully you are doing well. That you're on here brings a smile to me because that tells me everything went well and they're at least letting you have your phone. Appendicitis that they're going to actually do a surgery for. That's some serious shit. That can get you dead. And I had a mom that she was an RN, so I mean, well, until MS took her career away from her, she was an RN. But, you know, I didn't grow up with people in the medical field around me and not just pay attention. I mean, I listened a little bit. Uh, Now, as far as kidney stones go, back to that real quick. I have an aunt that had natural childbirth twice and kidney stones twice. And she has informed me that if you have the choice between natural childbirth and a kidney stone, take natural childbirth. It'll hurt. Sure, it's going to hurt. But it is so much less pain than a kidney stone. Now, there's women out there that will say, no, childbirth's the worst that anything ever happened to anybody. Okay. I'll tell you, if they tell you you're going to have a kidney stone that is 5 millimeter or a broken kneecap, tell them take a knee. I promise you. A 5 millimeter kidney stone will put you down bad. Massive amounts of pain. I mean, you break a kneecap, if you sit still, the pain kind of goes away. Kidney stones, the pain doesn't go away till it passes. And by the time it passes, the 5 millimeter stone that I had took a week. Solid week I was on drugs to deal with the pain. And when it finally passed, I was finally not in pain, and I still had 3 days worth of pills left to take that I didn't, but I could have. But yeah, and from what I understand, in the short run, appendicitis attack is very similar to a kidney stone, except for they'll go in and they'll operate for an appendicitis because there's really nothing that's going to pass. They have to do something for it. So, Jose, be very, very careful. You're probably going to hurt for a few days. Do not get crazy. Don't lift heavy things. You do not need to rip stitches out and do more damage. Listen to what those doctors are going to tell you and actually do what they say. And my dad went through appendicitis. Now, it's been years ago. So, familiar with the whole thing that's going on there. Oh, Steve, yeah. When they get to the point where they're too big to pass without help, and then they tell you it's something that's, the size of a grain of rice, and you're thinking like, really? I can't get a grain of rice to pass? You probably could if it was smooth, but kidney stones are jagged. Under a microscope, they look like a spiked ball. I don't ever want another one. They're horrible. Worst part of my entire life, ever. Promise. No exaggerations at all. The first one, and I thought I would die, was only like 2.5 millimeters. 2.5 millimeters. Luckily, the doctors here in the United States actually will tell you millimeters when it comes to kidney stones. The 5 millimeter, yes, half of a centimeter, really dropped me on my ass. I mean, the first one was half the size of the second one. It was done in a day. I was like, sure, whatever. Then I thought I'd be brave and tell my wife, yeah, you know what? Next time, don't even take me to the hospital, because they didn't do shit at the hospital. They really didn't do shit at the hospital for the first one. The second one, they gave me morphine. Of course, the second one was twice as large. Howdy, Cliff. Great to see you, sir. Yes, that is correct, Paul. Cane Rod is having a live auction tonight for friends of his family, or one of his friends, or one of his, well, the family of one of his viewers at least. The guy died suddenly, and according to the pictures I've seen, he has at least 3 kids, so probably a woman or 2 in his life that might be a little bit some way about it. I mean, it's never good when a YTPCer passes. Oh, dude has 6 kids. Holy cow. It wasn't Cliff, was it? Oh, wait, Cliff's right there. I thought only Cliff in the YTBC was brave enough to have 6 children. That's just proof that Cliff is a good-looking man. There ain't a bunch of good-looking men out there that have, you know. Let's reverse that for a second. Let me start back over. There's not a lot of men out there with 6 kids that aren't good-looking men. That's right. So Justin Aldrich has passed. I didn't actually know the guy, mostly because I don't get to spend very much time on Cane Rod's channel. You'll normally see that I end up slipping away somewhere in the last hour of Chad's live stream, because Holly would like to eat. Now, being that she's the one with the job and basically supporting me, when she says it's Holly time, it's Holly time. But she keeps that to a minimum. Paul, I would be very surprised if I knew even a quarter of the YTPCers that have passed away in the last year, much less in the last 5 years. I mean, but it is good to see things like the YTPC auctions for see, I remember old Pops dying, and I knew matches slightly, but the others, I'm like, I'm just not. I wasn't able to attend as many as I would like. Boris, who? Let's see. Huva Ilta. So, for those of you who are wondering, how come I keep saying what it is that Boris and Jose have just typed in, which looks like HYVAA, and there's some dots over the A, and then Ilta. That is good afternoon in Finnish. It's pronounced Huva Ilta, at least according to Google Translate. And Boris said, yeah, that's pretty close. So, Huva Ilta, Boris. Great to see you, sir. See, I don't know hardly any of these people. And I'm not trying to be mean by saying that. When I first got into the YTPC, I had a job. So I was working. You just really, seriously, you couldn't get to hardly any videos when you were working the hours I was working. Howdy, James. Great to see you, sir. That's correct. Boris, thanks for correcting me. Huva Ilta is good evening. Good afternoon would be Huva Ilta Pavaya. Now, for anybody who missed James Stumbo's last couple of shows, y'all missed a lot because there's been Boris and Cliff. And I'm going to tell you some great interviews there. And he made one hell of a good show about the secret recipe for Martin's liquor cabinet. I gotta tell you, I think he might be onto something there. I think he might be onto something there. Now, of course, a lot of people got out of doing YouTube videos or Facebook this or Twitter that or half a dozen other things. Because, as with most things, it turned into a political bitch fest about the same time that Donald Trump and Joe Biden were playing off against each other. And things got a little heated out there for a lot of people. If y'all really want to talk politics, you're welcome to come in here and talk politics. I mean, as long as we can keep it civil. If you want to come in here and tell me that guns are wrong, you're allowed to have that wrong opinion. In here, sure, not a problem. I have no problem with people who are afraid of firearms. In fact, those tend to end up being some of the better shots. Once they stop being afraid, start seeing that it's the human that does the killing, the firearm's really just going to sit there and not move at all. I have never seen a firearm of mine go off without a finger on the trigger for some strange reason. It just seems to be the way that works. Ooh, I'm gonna have to stay off of that one. Gentlemen's, yeah, that was enough right there. First word. I am never really going to be a gentleman. Neanderthug, yes. Meaning that my ancestry basically is that I'm a thug and my arms are long enough that my knuckles still pretty much drag the ground. Paul, I'll agree with you. Some people should probably not be in possession of a firearm. For those that are going to use it for defense of themselves and their family, if and hunting, killing of animals that need to be put down. I mean, Scott, let's be honest. Some people shouldn't be allowed to continue to waste the communal oxygen. But I'm not going out there and hunting them down. Wait, James, you made a video and I'm supposed to reply on that video instead of sitting back and laughing and just giving it a thumbs up? I will make sure from now on, every James Stumbo video that I have come across, I will make sure to make a comment. Right, wrong, off, sideways, I'll make some sort of a comment. I really did like the talk about your Tennessee, what was it? Tennessee walk? Brain just said, slow down, you're going somewhere. Our discussion about horses. Howdy, Steph. Great to see you, ma'am. And in answer to your text, which I saw just pop up, yes, ma'am, I certainly will. That should not be an issue. You don't even have to say what it's about. Got you, sister. I got you. Let's just say tomorrow morning it might be pretty close to 3 hours of me. Now I wish I had saved this cigar for tomorrow, but that's okay. Well, Steve, I mean, I'm not lying when I tell people I'm related to Cole Younger. He's not my great-grandfather, but my dad's mom, her grandfather, So my grandmother's grandmother. How do we figure that out? That's great great grandfather, I guess it is. It was Cole Younger. My grandmother's maiden name was Younger. Seriously. I mean, okay, so not everybody's heard of the Youngers. You've heard of Frank and Jesse James, and maybe you heard about the James Dalton gang. Well, Jameses, Daltons, and Youngers are all basically cousins from generally the same area. And a railroad decided to come through their land and cut their fences and tell them too bad about you. This is eminent domain, and they were paying like penny on the dollar of what the land was actually worth. Needless to say, the Jameses, the Youngers, and the Daltons didn't actually act the way normal civilized people would and just take the money. They said, no, we're pretty much going to start shooting people.
They didn't act like normal people, that's correct, just like all of their relatives.
And according to my wife, they didn't act like normal people, that's correct. They acted like idiots, just like all the rest of their relatives. Thanks, babe. Love you too.
This is a fuck you, Donald moment.
You heard it here first. There you go. Mother and daughter are both Yankees. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about those people from up there. I think the cold air has greatly affected their ability to think clearly. Not saying that that is always true with all people. Just those Michiganders. Seems strange to me that people in Michigan will say that their lives are ruined because of one certain party that they haven't voted for in years. Literally years. But that party has not been in control of anything in their state for so many years that there is just no way that what they keep saying can be true. Ah, Sharon. That is a Romeo and Julieta. Actually, it's called a Romeo y Julieta. But the Y just basically is an and. So Romeo and Juliet, though it's Romeo and Julieta, 1875. Steve, don't worry about that. I was definitely born with a brain. Sometimes I even get around to using it. For instance, proof that I was born with a brain. Here we go. This will be fun. In the state of Texas.
Stop looking at me. I hate it when you do that.
There is only one person that has ever passed the electrical exam and the boiler inspector's exam. For some strange reason, people think it's hard. It's fucking hard. Ah, Jeff, that's actually a decent cigar. I've smoked a few of those. Well, Scott, glad that you're back at work. Or if it's work that you're not discussing, hopefully it's gainfully employed and doing well. No, there were some issues there, wasn't there? Am I thinking the wrong person? Could be I'm thinking the wrong person. Proof that sometimes I don't use my brain. But yeah, Scott, take care, be well, and yeah, come back and join in when you can. Of course, if you're heading to work and you do an 8-hour shift, you'll get off work just after Martin goes offline, so damn. That is some bad luck there.
1 or 2.
First time trying it. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you actually think about it. Some people are going to like it and some are not. Hey, looky there. We're like starting to lose people, and maybe it's because I haven't yet done a roll call. What are you smoking and what are you smoking it in? Again, I'll start. I am having a Romeo and Juliet 1875. That's a natural wrapper in the Churchill size. It is technically part of the Monte Cristo lineup. Let's just be honest. The Monte Cristo label owns about 5 or 6 different labels of cigars. It's very similar to the way that General Tobacco or General Cigars has several labels. The biggest companies, they all tend to be owning of several different names of cigar companies. Oh, Steve's got 2-timer and a Savinelli 614. Always liked the shape of the 614. But when I went and got the Savinelli that I got, it was 320. And that 320 just fits my hand so well. Steph, there's no requirement that says you got to get up and smoke just because I asked what you're smoking it in. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, James is still eating pizza. He's just smoking his cholesterol level. Not true, James. It's fine. I like pizza myself. Probably more than I'm supposed to. Though I will say it tends to be American style pizza and not the Italian style pizza. If you've ever had Italian style pizza and you've been through some of the places that make real good American style pizza, it's just not the same stuff. I like them both, but I prefer the American style. Smoking some Melkor blend from Nathan. All right. Equal parts HH Latakia, Rustica, and Old Dark Fired. Oh yeah, I can bet with that Rustica in there, it will probably slap you around a little bit. If I could do the Old Dark Fired, I would, but some about the Kentucky Dark Fired tobacco just tends to end up sour for me, so I don't smoke it. I'm with you on that one, Boris. It's probably a really large pizza. And Boris says he's between smokes. Not a problem, not a problem. Hey, we're 15 minutes out from Chad, so, well, maybe 20. I did start a little early. No big deal. Jeff, just make sure you don't end up smoking it hot. That cigar has a tendency for me to tar up if I smoke it hot. So smoke it a little bit, set it down, let it rest, smoke it a little bit, set it down, let it rest. You'll do well. By the way, Odie, how is the bourbon hunting? Boris, yes, you are correct. There is definitely a difference in U.S. style pizzas. I mean, it seems like every other week somebody's coming up with some new... We have to name it after some sort of a city. I mean, there's Chicago style, which is deep dish, with the sauce on the top instead of underneath the cheese. There's New York style, which is thin, large, floppy. There's now something called a Detroit style, which is a medium-sized square pizza with 2 lines of some different type of a sauce on it. It's... Pizza gets crazy, and people get as irate about their pizza as people do about politics. Sometimes food is almost as dangerous as politics and religion. Hey, fried mushrooms, I'm good for that. Not a problem, Jeff. I want people to enjoy their cigars as well as their pipes. But I don't have as much experience with pipes as I do with cigars. So I normally I retell what I do know that I've been told by people who are really experts in pipes. And I try to share my cigar knowledge so that people can enjoy their cigars. And basically, I mean, why not tell somebody, look, if you're doing this with a cigar and you're getting something bad out of it, you might want to do this, this, or this. And I've seen some people do mighty bad things with cigars. Old Forester birthday bourbon. And a few select others, of course. That's always true, though, Odie. Come on, there's always a few select others. And then there's those surprise, this showed up today, of which you just kind of have to say, well, I just happen to be here, so I just happen to be buying it. Some really good stuff out there. Odie, something that you might want to look for. Now, this is not a high-end bourbon, but it's definitely good. There's something out there called Red Handed. It is a blended bourbon. Okay? I don't know what their blend of bourbons is that they used to make this stuff. Good tasting stuff, though. I think you'll like it. It's good for that. I don't need to worry about the price tag on it because it's not outrageous. I can just enjoy it. You know what I'm talking about. Well, Boris, consequently, here in the United States, we do tend to call pizza a pie. The pizza pie. So you're not exactly wrong about your statement about Chicago-style deep dish pizza. It is quite a bit like a pie when you think about it. Well, Odie, like I said, if you ever become a master distiller somewhere, you need to go ahead and let me get a job there. Between my electrical knowledge, my boiler knowledge, and my bourbon knowledge, I'd probably be a decent find for any company that's out there trying to make bourbons. James, you are very correct on that. There are some places they should have never started trying to make pizza. And there are some places that the world would be a much worse place if they had never made that first pizza. And quite often, it's some of the way, way off places that you've never even heard of. Here in Houston, we've got this little place called Brothers Pizza. Little bitty place. It is at I-10 and Beltway 8 out near Katy, Texas. Great pizza. If you like New York style pizza. It is probably as close to New York style pizza as you will ever find outside of New York. Well, Odie, I'm pretty sure you'll like that Red Handed. And then if you like a nice, thick, peaty scotch, there's a bourbon out there called Bone Bourbon. And it tastes like a really, really peaty scotch. I bought a bottle, Took it to a local place, poured out some glasses with some friends. All the guys that liked really good scotch, but heavy on the peat, they were like, man, this is good scotch. And I looked back at the bottle because it said bourbon. I was like, either they mislabeled this crap or this stuff is as peaty as any scotches I've ever seen. Come to find out, no, that's the way they make it. They make it taste like scotch. Very peaty scotch. Which, if I was in the mood for scotch that day, I would have been happy. But I was in the mood for bourbon. I was very disappointed. That is true, James. And there's really no wrong way to have your pizza. But I'm gonna have to say that there's some wrong pizzas out there. James, that is very true about the cost of food in New York. It is extremely expensive. I one time had 2 beers and a barbecue dinner at a place called Virgil's in New York. Decent barbecue. Decent beer. $100 price tag. I was like, but I didn't have any bills for real, so it was like, whatever, that's fine. Dutch oven deep dish, Chicago style pizza. I could see it. I could see it. I mean, you go with the cast iron, it's going to hold the heat well. It's going to cook fairly evenly once it gets to the right temperature. And then because it's a Dutch oven, it cooks all the way around, keeping that temperature fairly constant. Probably make a damn good pizza, just my opinion. Homemade biscuits. Now, how homemade are those biscuits? Is that like you pour the flour out, you start making the dough all from one? Or is this one of those where you buy the Pillsbury and throw them in the Dutch oven? Inquiring minds. I'm not judging, I'm just asking. Boris, you're not wrong. There's been plenty of things that I have seriously enjoyed when I was hungry that I would not touch when I'm full. I could almost always go after some homemade cookies, Sharon. %, homemade. All right, James. See, I wasn't judging. I was just asking to see, you know. And I'm not asking your recipe. I'm not asking your recipe. I got one of my own. Of course, my recipe is like you put enough flour out there until it looks right. And then you add this ingredient until it looks right. And then you add some of this until it looks right. You put a little of this in there until it looks right. Then you turn it into a ball of dough. Then you roll them out. You cut them into biscuits. That's all you got to do. Yes. My grandmother could cook, and she did not have a single recipe. I had to actually get right up in there and watch what she was doing. Oh, James, you gotta add some butter. Better have a little buttermilk. Little salt, little pepper. And if you want them sweet, just a touch of honey. You don't have to add like all that sugar and stuff. Yeah, Sharon and I, we're all going to get all hungry over here listening to all these food things that people are talking about making. It's practically dinner time in the States by the time we get halfway through Chad's live stream. Steve, I'll definitely keep an eye out for Doc's video. Well, James, I mean, you ate 3 slices of pizza. For me, that's just a snack. Oh yeah, James, believe me, I know. Yesterday, started that live stream here. I'm only an hour behind you. And it's started at 5. Oh, 40 minutes in, I was having to turn the lights on, otherwise nobody's going to see. Well, Boris, if you're going to make the crust, you're going to have to use a little bit of butter. Odie, if you work with a little bacon grease, I mean, I guess you can get out of the butter. Yeah, James, a little bit of garlic butter on pizza, especially on the crust, if you've got crust pieces. So you take the butter and the garlic and you get that last edge right around the outside. It'll make it crispy as it's cooking. Boris the Impaler has said that he hasn't seen the sun in the last couple of weeks. I wonder why that is, that we think he might be related to certain vampires. I know that all-day sun that you get in the middle of summer and the all-day winter night that you get is hard on people. By the way, because it's getting on towards that time, if anybody sees Chad come on, can y'all let me know? I used to have a tablet out here so I could keep checking on things, but the tablet was old to begin with and it stopped updating, so I can't get YouTube to update that device anymore. And now if I click on the YouTube button, it just goes directly back to the home screen. It's like, to hell with it. There's no reason to have it out here if it's going to do it like that. Sharon, I'm sure I would like your cakes if I liked cake. Nothing to do with the flavor. I like the flavor of cakes. It's the texture of cake. Just not really a fan. My wife will make a birthday pie instead of a birthday cake. Whether it be pecan pie or apple cherry hatch pie, or you know what, if she makes pie, I'm probably gonna tear off large chunks of it and just eat it. She does a whole lot more baking than I do. I guess I bake chicken from time to time. I am not good at cooking chicken. Don't get me wrong. I'm not good at cooking chicken. There are a few dishes I can do with chicken, and other than that, I won't even try to grill it. Grill or barbecue chicken? Nope, I'm going to screw that up. Might as well just take it, throw it in the trash can, because that's where it's going to end up anyways. Well, Steve, I would, except for the fact that she is still at work while this show is going. And she can't be away from her phone for a solid hour. And she's not going to come out here and throw it to me and say, hey. So I could talk real sweet to Holly, and she's still going to say no, at least to that request. Well, James, see, Boris is part vampire, so I'm not sure he's allowed to have garlic. Odie, I like peanut butter pie, chocolate pie, you know. There's a whole lot of pies I like. The only pie I don't like is pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin cooked without all the crappy spices that they like to add into it to make it into a pumpkin pie. I mean, I've had a pumpkin soup that was phenomenal. I just don't like pumpkin pie. It's because of the spices. I'm not big on any anise or the allspice that they tend to dump down inside of pumpkin pie. It just doesn't do anything for me but make me just... leaves a sour, bitter, nastiness taste in my mouth, personally. If it was there and I'm hungry, I'd eat it. I'm not going to tell you I won't eat it. But chances are, if you see me eating pumpkin pie, it's an imposter. Shoot to kill. I'm pretty secure that I'm not going to be eating pumpkin pie unless it's the only thing available at all. And like Boris said, hunger makes for the best spice. Oh, okay, Boris, good. I don't want to see you catch fire. Now, Paul, rhubarb with strawberry in a pie, great stuff. Rhubarb by itself, now, sweet potato pie is fine, depending upon who's making it. If they choose that they're going to make it to taste exactly like a pumpkin pie, and they're going to dump all the pumpkin pie spices into a sweet potato pie, then I'm not going to eat it. But if they try to make it a little bit more like a buttermilk pie, I'm going after it with a fork the size of a pitchfork. I like pumpkin. I just don't like the pumpkin spices. The same reason why I won't drink a pumpkin spice latte. If you have to put that much pumpkin pie spice into anything, it's normally because you're trying to hide something that's rotten. Paul, I wouldn't doubt that it actually could become poisonous. Most things that are bitter that way, if they are refined down or boiled down to an extract level, can be extremely poisonous. But nicotine is poisonous. I mean, oxygen. Look what oxygen does to metal. It is the oxygen that creates rust. Just so everybody's clear on what I'm saying there. Well, Paul, women tend to kill people by poisoning them. Men tend to do killing by violence. Though no kind of killing is anything but violence. It just has to be a little bit of a better plan. Oh, and that's right. James is smoking salty dogs in his own pipe. Forgot to put the John the Night Piper voice on that. Steph, you live in Houston. House of Pie. Strawberry rhubarb pie. Oh yeah. Highly suggested. I don't know about salty dogs. Do not know about salty dogs. I've never had it. But now I'm interested. I do like a good vapor, and then, you know, with rum, it sounds pretty good to me. Steve, there is no doubt about that. Good barbecue, good steaks. You don't need all that sauce. You don't need it. Good barbecue and good steaks should be delicious without all that sauce. It frustrates me when you ask somebody, hey, how's the barbecue at this place? They're like, man, they got the best sauce. I didn't ask, did they make something barely palatable that you have to pour enough sauce on that you can actually suck it down? I asked how the barbecue actually was. Howdy, Ben. Great to see you, sir. I thought Chad would be coming on by now, but I've still got 12 here, so I'm guessing he's not. Paul, some ivies are very poisonous. Two or three plants of the nightshade grouping grow and look exactly like ivy. Beautiful plants. They even smell good. But just a little bit will kill you. Goodness. So last night on Mike's, they were talking about having a Atlanta area meetup and barbecue and pipe event. I gotta tell you, if some of these things ever happen, it's going to end up being an annual event. And it's going to start growing. I think Steph's right in her assumptions that we need to pool our money and just buy the Carter Hall estates. Howdy, Todd. Great to see you, sir. And we're just hanging out, waiting on Chad. Well, supposedly we're waiting on Chad. Odie, that's actually the correct recipe for real good barbecue. Low and slow and lots of smoke. But you gotta kind of make sure you got the right smoke too. You can't just throw a tire on the fire and say, hey, it's smoking. It's gonna be some pretty rancid barbecue. Woo! 2.5 months to heal from poison ivy. Goodness, Ben, you must have gotten into a big stash of it. So, Steph, how long will Skip be out in Louisiana? he should be back before Christmas, right? Hopefully back before Thanksgiving. I don't believe he's going to have as many problems needing to worry about wearing a Gumby suit out there in Louisiana. Water's still warm enough to swim in. It's the gators you got to worry about. Just tell Skip to stop smoking in the engine room, and then they won't think there's a fire in the engine room. The more he smokes in the engine room, the longer it takes for him to get back to Steph, and that's just not right. I know he loves you. He's wanting to get back to you soon, so I'm sure that that is not the situation. Well, I personally know that I will not be looking for any salty dogs at all for at least until the end of the year. Because I still have 2 more pounds of tobacco upstairs after I finish the Emerald Isle that I'm working on now. Well, Boris, the problem with swimming in Alaska, even with the safety suit that they make you wear, the water is so cold it'll kill you quick. You only have to worry about the gators that are right there around your boat. And normally, if it's a big enough boat, they won't come anywhere near it. Cajun's got them trained. You got to sneak up on gators out there in Louisiana. They ain't just going to be around a big boat. Steph, all right, yeah, you got me there. That's true. But, you know, he's a vampire. The gators aren't going to actually affect him either. At that point, it becomes who bites who first, right? Well, that is true. That is true, Boris. Living where you live, I'm fairly certain you've been in water that's cold enough to make me cringe. Steve, that is very true. With most poisonous plants, somewhere not too far away is a nature's remedy for that poisonous plant. Is weird how that works. Come on, Odie, you're not making clocks. Piper on the 45. Smoking a billiard. Awesome. James, I'll agree with you. I've seen some really nice clocks that were made out of tins. There is a cigar box made by LFD for the cigar called La Nox, LA space NOX, and it's a round box, and it works great for making a clock. Ah, Boris. Here in the States, they call it polar bear swimming, where they cut a hole in the ice and go for a swim. Yeah. Yeah. Dumb fuckers. Oh, sorry, wait, I said that part out loud. Out around the Great Lakes, when the ice starts really getting thick, they'll drive out on the ice and they'll cut a hole in the ice so that they can fish, and then they'll light a bonfire out on the ice. And the ice is so thick that the bonfire won't even burn all the way through to the ice. You just got to make sure your car's not parked too close. Odie, I will tell you, I go into Walmart for what I need. I'm in and out, hour at the most. At the most. I take Holly with me, 3.5 hours, and we don't get half of what's on the list. Odie, they edit me at YouTube from time to time. And I ask them if they really, really want to do that. I've actually had 2 videos returned back into publication because they couldn't find that I had actually broken their community rules. Somebody felt that I might have said something slightly contradictory to something that the medical community sort of maybe kind of said. They're getting a little more used to me now, with the fact that I live in a big-ass medical community known as Houston. Well, Steph, it'll either fix it or break it. I mean, my God. That's how they break stone. Heat it up, freeze it off. Sooner or later, it's gonna crack. Gratuitous Jaws quote there, Odie. Steve, that's my supposition, but I'm not going to sit there and go find out using any of my body parts for scientific evidence. It just has to do with the fact that I am not that into cold. I can handle it, but I know how to stay dry and warm too. part of the reason I don't work offshore anymore is because I don't want to be cold. And they tried to send me to Alaska, and then they tried to send me to Alaska again, and I was like, nah, I'm done. "12-ounce shot, Steph. 12-ounce shot." "Tell the kids they're old enough to microwave their own Hot Pockets." My son actually knew how to cook before he went into the Air Force. He might not have been the best cook in the world, but he knew how. And I am sure that Steph is not raising dummies. They know how to do that stuff. See, right there, Steph just backed me up with her statement. She didn't raise no losers. She raised them to know how to do a little bit of that stuff on their own, because she ain't raising children, she's raising young adults. Good for you, Steph. It really, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. The art of raising children is not to raise children. It is to raise a fully functioning adult when you're done raising them. You don't want them to come home to your home forever. Eventually, you're going to want some time away from them. Raising a child, they're going to stay around forever. Raise a young adult, they'll eventually start doing adult stuff and be out of your hair. Then when they come back, you can really enjoy your time with them. I don't say this to be mean to anybody. Look, I love my son. I would love to spend more time with him than I can, but he lives in San Antonio, and right now we've got this COVID thing, and it's not happening as much as I'd like. But when I do get to see him, I have a good time, and I think he does too, because he seems to. Oh yeah, Steph, see, you're right there on the path then. You already know. You're not raising children, you're raising young, fully functioning adults. And I've always said, raise a young adult, don't raise a child. It's not just something that I came up with. That was something my grandmother said way back. And I'm fairly certain that's something that some of her relatives said to her when she was young. That's just the way it should be. And it's the way the world is falling out of nowadays. Boris, that's very true. It might make it tolerable. Ask Martin what his recipe for a car bomb is. I bet you those will help. He'll give you the legitimate recipe because he doesn't want to tell you that James is right. Well, Steph, when I was much, much younger, I would get put in charge of everything that was stuck in a crock pot. And I'd put the little timer on, and I'd walk away and go do some stuff, and I knew when the timer went off, I had to go stir something. And then reset the timer. I was probably only 10. It was the only thing my grandmother trusted me to do back then. Stir this every 10 minutes. You got it. How to cook, how to clean, how to do your own laundry. These are important things. When I was living in Weatherford, I only saw my wife 65 days out of a calendar year. She was living in Houston and I was living in Weatherford. I did all my own cooking. Well, when I wasn't eating at the Waffle House, which I ate at the Waffle House a lot. Long story. Don't worry about me. I did my own cleaning. I did my own laundry. Steve, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Kids these days are being raised to be kids. When they're adults, they're still kids because they've never functioned. They don't know how to do anything. And then you go look at what's all in all the processed foods. Sugar. Tons of it. You wonder why people are becoming diabetic? Hell, the FDA practically poisons us with sugar. Y'all don't have to believe me. Here's something. You'd never believe me unless you go look at the ingredients. Johnsonville breakfast sausages. The little link sausages that you get for breakfast. Third ingredient. Corn syrup. You can't taste it. You wouldn't know it's there, but it's there. Well, James, you were lucky. You only had to straighten them. I had to go and dig every last one of them out of every cabinet and make sure they were washed. And not just a little bit washed. I mean water hot enough that my skin was red. She didn't play around. It was straight hot water, and that water heater was only about 3 feet away from the sink. Okay, it had to go up into the roof and back over and back down, so the pipe was only probably about 12 feet long. But it sure didn't take long for that hot water to get there. Well, good for you, Steph. Stick with that. Doing chores is just the things that you're going to have to do for yourself when your parents ain't there to do it no more. Ooh, James, yeah. I remember toting baskets of laundry out there to the line, but she wouldn't let nobody dry on that line. Nope. Nope. She had a system. She put them all up there on the line. And my grandfather, he strung miles of that line in that backyard. Tell you what, she could wash and dry more clothes in a day than any machine could ever possibly do. She did all that stuff by hand. She acted like I was crazy when I bought that damn washing machine and dryer and installed them in her house. She was like, I ain't never going to use that. She did eventually start using that stuff, but she was used to that old scrub board and hanging it out there on the line. She had done it for years and she wasn't going to change. Even still, she could run 2 loads through the machine, and the only thing she'd put in the dryer would be like the underwear and stuff she didn't want to hang out there on the line. Oh, pots and pans, yeah. Well, she would wash, except for the fact that she was cooking. Oh no, I had to wash and dry. She's going to cook for an army. The youngest one washed and dried. Ooh, Ben, you be careful out there stacking firewood. I mean, I know you live farther north, so you shouldn't have too many snakes or bugs this time of year, but still, you can end up with some crazy little animals and stuff up there in a stack of firewood, so just be careful. I hear you, James. I would set things out on a towel until I had about 8 or 9 things to dry. Then I'd dry them real quick, get them back in that cabinet. And I better be quick, because if she was ready for a pot, she was damn ready. There was no holding back. And she cooked. She cooked a lot of stuff. So whoever was youngest had to be ready. Unfortunately, I was youngest for a lot of years. Just the way it was. Well, I say whoever was youngest. I mean, you know, the first 5 or 6 years where I was too young, it obviously fell on my sister and cousins. But once I got old enough that I could actually use that little step stool and stand up at the sink, I was the one that ended up with the job. Wasn't no big deal. Just part of life. You got a woman that cooks that good for 30 or 40 people, you help out any way you can. And if she says you're going to help out in a certain way, that's what you damn well do. Still no Chad. Here I am, hour and 45 minutes in. Yeah. I've still got about 15 minutes on this cigar. We can go for that. Nowadays, I've seen parents that have kids that are junior high, about to go into high school, that have never done a load of laundry, have never cooked their own food, actually, boilers is something that my dad did. Boiler inspections, that's what my dad did for a living for quite a while. And as an electrician, I mean, I'm a good electrician, sure, but you got to really work hard to be an electrician. And you don't have to work so damn hard to be a boiler inspector. You go in, you look at some things, and then you tell them how to fix what's wrong, or you say, yeah, we're going to have to decommission this boiler. It ain't going to work no more. And then you leave it up to them to do the work. Steve, there were some pots that were like that when I was a kid. Of course, as I got older, I stopped having to climb quite so far in there. Then my arms grew out the way they did. Well, when you can stand flat-footed and still drag your knuckles on the ground, there's very few pots that are going to be big enough that you can't reach the bottom. And if you still can't reach the bottom, just get a longer scrub brush. Don't worry, yeah, we had a dishwasher. But you could only put so many dishes in the dishwasher before it was full. Thanksgiving and Christmas time, when you're cooking for, like I said, 30 to 40 people, there's a lot of dishes, and you don't have time to wait for that dishwasher to run through a full cycle. Some of those pots need to be cleaned and then put back into use in a hurry. Oh, you're not eating what you really wanted? I guess you should have washed dishes a little faster. I want to see 30 people look at you side-eye because you screwed up dinner because you wouldn't wash dishes fast enough. Yeah, that's a good quick lesson there. Miss that woman. My grandmother. What's to say? No big deal. She lived a good long time. Though for the last 10 years, she was so far gone with dementia that she didn't recognize me. Yes, squirrels. Damn barking squirrels. All right, Jose's getting food again. Unfortunately, it's institutionalized hospital food. Oh. Normally needs seasonings from home, because they do not do any kind of seasonings in hospitals, at least not any of the ones I remember. But make sure you eat all that you can. You don't want to end up getting sick because you didn't have enough nutrition while you were in the hospital. That happens to a lot of people, actually. They go into the hospital, the food is horrible, so they won't eat it. Then they end up getting sick when they get back out. Then they end up going right back in. I think it's a plot to get your money. You're welcome, son. You're welcome. I didn't know your mom was this flat-chested. Or hung this well. James, actually what it is my cat is wandering around prowling here in the front yard. And as soon as those squirrels see my cat, they start the full-on cat alarm, because he has caught a few. And let's just say they don't fare too well. When he catches them, he gets them. That's game over squirrel. So they have their own little alarm system. Hey, he's out here, he's out here. Everybody up in a tree. That's pretty much what you're hearing. Howdy, Dan. Great to see you, sir. Odie, while Holly might be a little bit upset with the idea, my mother-in-law would be just fine with it. Except for the fact that if I miss some of the houses that are kind of in between me and where the the squirrels are in between me and another house across the street, and you go plinking somebody's windows from across the street, they do tend to get a little bit upset. I am not so great with a slingshot. And I'm not going to pull the shotgun and go to work. Tends to be illegal inside city limits, unfortunately. And the guy next door who feeds the damn squirrels, so that so many of these damn squirrels are around, he might get a little bit upset more than anybody else. Yeah, Boris, I've got the noisiest critters on the planet all hanging out here around my house. I'd like to say it's not my fault. Mostly because it's not my fault. Well, Ben, we will have wildlife here in the Houston area year-round. It never gets cold enough, it hardly ever gets cold enough that all of them go away, or that any of them hibernate for all of winter. Hell, if I had a little 9mm, I could plunk 3 of them right now. That just means that my cat went into the backyard. Oh no, it's just squirrels. Look at that fat little howling monkey. You're a little camera shy. And hey, right on cue, my cat shows up right over here by me. Though it's the wrong cat. That's the one that chases birds. Doesn't matter what size the bird is. The bird could be 3 times its size. That cat will chase any bird on the planet. I've even seen him start to try and take off after an owl that landed in the backyard. I'm like, do you not realize that that owl's going to look at you and go, cool, lunch, and it's coming to me? Huh. And that's a jet. Small jet, private jet. That's going into Ellington. Ellington Field. In case y'all are looking for where I'm actually at, yes, Ellington Field is not too far away. Your cat is scared of crows. Well, most things should be scared of crows. Crows are smart. And some of them are fairly mean. I mean, there's probably a reason why it's called a murder of crows. Some birds, it's called a flock. Crows is called a murder. Go figure. Well, I didn't know I was supposed to set up for a 4-hour show. So does anybody want to be next? I'm not really for certain how some of these guys can do a 3-hour show. It gets a little trying on the vocal cords. Ben, if you're asking which cigar, that's what's left of a Romeo and Juliet 1875. If I hold it just right, y'all can see the numbers. It was a Churchill. That is correct. Cane Rod's benefit auction is tonight. And that means I'm going to try and get to some food a little bit earlier than normal for me. That way I can maybe catch in on some of Cane Rod's auction. I don't have any money to bid on anything, so I'll probably just be sitting around kind of keeping quiet and enjoying everybody else making good bids on stuff. No big deal. That's just my plan. At least I have a plan. Sounds like a plan, anyways. So, let's remind ourselves what's going on later tonight. There is going to be Cane Rod's live auction. We might see an Armenian piper. That's happened a few times. And, man, that guy is super impressive to me. How he has helped out people in need here in the YTPC is just ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's like super nice, but still, y'all get what I'm saying there. Not a problem, Odie. It's been a pleasure having you here. Don't worry, we're not long left in this show. I'm almost out of cigar, and I don't think I'm going to light another pipe. Not quite so soon after. Oh, Jason's having another auction for the Children's Hospital in December. That should be a good show as well. Scalping knife, skinning knife. Come on, Steve, it's about the same thing, right? So anyways, after Cane Rod's live auction, or somewhere starting in the middle of Cane Rod's live auction, Martin at Over a Pipe should be on. Lord knows that show is outstanding, at least to me. That's why I've been watching it for longer than y'all have. I have proof. So, for anybody who needs more me time, be watching for Raphael's Saturday show. I haven't been contacted yet, so I don't believe I'm filling in for him. And then right after Cane Rod's show should be what would have been a tailgate, but it seems like it's just going to end up being y'all and me, because Steph said that her back's hurting and she'd like for me to go ahead and fill in. Trying to help out the YTPC as I can. So, Steph, you know I've got you. Not a problem. What's your S? I'm not sure what my S is. I don't have an S on my chest. I just think that I'm Superman. Oh, what am I smoking? Romeo and Juliet, a cigar. Same cigar. And tomorrow, if Jose is still listening in, I'm planning on pulling out the little hammer. He knows what pipe I'm talking about. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been so much fun having y'all here. I've got to save some of this because I've got another 2 hours tomorrow. Whew. So unfortunately, I'm going to be getting out of here at this point. And it doesn't look like Chad's coming on, but maybe Chad's already on. YouTube's just not informing me, which is very frustrating. But as per always, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. Do the best you can on that. And now for a quick little thought. We've got some people needing some prayer. And Let My Cameron Go on Monday nights has been doing a prayer meeting for the last couple of weeks. It's a good time. Would love to see some more of y'all in there. Now it's 9 o'clock Eastern, so 8 o'clock Central. I know for some of y'all that's a little later than is appreciative, but that's what time he can get on, so that's what time he does his show. So bring your prayers and come on and join in if you can. As per always, like I said, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you again soon. And, you know, long lives, big bowls, long ashes. I'll see y'all at least at Martin's if I can't make it back to Cane Rods. Talk to y'all later.